Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Lung. Just a few questions, if you don't mind. There's a new arrival in your family, Lotus, the girl from the tea shop. How do you feel about your son bringing her into your home?
I could care less about that parasite. All she does is suck money from our family, treating my grandchildren like pests. I do not approve. She causes nothing but problems in this house. My son feels only lust for her. I was young once also, but I kept my pride. I would never bring a second woman into my house just for my own pleasure. She's a disgrace to our family.
I understand. Mr. Lung, you were a man of high values. When you lived in the South, did it anger you when they sent you out to beg for money?
Of course it did. All my life I've plowed fields, sown seed, and had enough to fill my rice bowl. I've reaped harvest and worked my whole life to earn my money. Never would I beg at the needs of another man. I'd rather die than lose my own self-respect.
I can tell by your struggle to get words out that you have suffered with some health issues. The fact that you're extremely reliant on your son must be hard on your pride.
I wasn't always like this. I used to be strong-willed and self-sufficient like my son. It has been very difficult, but there is only so much an old fool can do at this age. My lungs aren't as strong as they used to be. I'm grateful for my son and Olan. Then again, if it wasn't for me, Wang wouldn't be where he is today. I gave him life, and the way I see it, he owes me mine.
While we're on the subject of birth, correct me if I'm wrong here, but Olan has bore you 5 children, your son 5 children. Will it be hard for you not to see all of them mature throughout the years?
Indeed, it shall be very hard for my old soul. I feel that the gods will not grant me my wish of good health, for it would be more than I could ever ask for. The gods have been very good to my family, keeping the fields full these past years, and I don't want to come off as greedy. My grandchildren give me a reason to live. I hope they never forget me.
Mr. Lung, like we said previously, there are many mouths to feed in the house. How do you feel about money being spent as freely as it has been?
I believe it is very uncalled for. Lotus is the problem. That leech, sucking our hard-earned money down her throat. All the expensive foreign foods and fancy drinks. Huh, ungrateful fool. And my son, he gives in to that thing, buying her everything she asks, just to make her stay. That money could go to his children. I survived without the fire, thanks so shall he.
You recently moved back from a big city in the South. What problems did you have to overcome physically in order to survive?
I've always been a man who could provide for his family, but physically, I was and still am too feeble to work. My age fell hard upon me when we moved to the South. My lungs had to adjust to the new air, and I'm not as young as I used to be. Then there was the situation with the money and the robbing. It makes an old man's heart want to burst. My health and the lack of food kept me weak and unable to support our own growing family.
With your growing and aging family, brides are having to be bought. What is the main struggle you've experienced when searching for these women for each of your grandsons?
It is true that when young men come to be of age, they must be married and promised to a woman to fulfill their lusts. However, each of my grandsons is different, and they all have different expectations. One wants a great beauty, and the other demands nothing but a common girl from town. It is also hard to find families willing to marry off their daughter for such reasonable prices.
Mr. Lung, as you mentioned earlier, you're growing feeble with age. Along with your loss of sight, you struggle from loss of hearing. How does it make you feel to know that your very own son keeps secrets, such as the death of your second granddaughter, from you?
It infuriates me. How disrespectful they have become. Just because I've come of age does not mean I'm less of a human. When I was informed of the incident that happened with her, I was more than anything angry that they had not told me, rather than the fact Olan had strangled her.
Oh, earlier we mentioned the large secrets not being told to you by your family members. When you finally discovered your brother's secret, were you shocked?
To be completely honest, not really. My brother has always been the one of an evil soul. He brings nothing but bad luck to people's lives. I knew that something was going on, for my son would not have given out money as freely as he had.
You've made it very clear that if it weren't for your grandchildren, you would have nothing left to live for. How do you feel about Wang sending the youngest girl to live with the family of the boy she will be wed to?
It is indeed true that my grandchildren were my reason to fight to live. I was at first very angry when they told me where they had sent my girl. I hadn't had other children to help me pass time. It would have been a much harder time.
Well, thank you so much for coming and speaking with us today, Mr. Long. Thank you so much.